So, aside from sad frowny face type 2 hobosity, what up?
That's good. That's not too bad.
Oh, I got a
Um,
crick in my neck.
I did a couple things. For one, I spent some time with that Melty Blood.
Oh, Yoshinori Ono's Melty Blood.
Yoshinori Ono's very own.
I see.
I had to, man. I saw that tweet.
Here you go, honey.
I had to keep moving. I couldn't stop on it.
I didn't fully understand what was like the gross and or awful part of that quite at first until I realized like he just went over there.
Not
Like his
to French bread, to the producer, to the production company, and the phrasing, which some people said might be a translation issue, where Ono said, you know, Melty Blood's doing great, number one selling game on Steam. Thanks to everybody who got it. You know, I'm very happy with the success as I've just started my new job at my company. Or something along those lines, which it was just a weird tweet that sounded like it was taking credit for what French Bread did, and it didn't rub anyone the right way.
Hey, you know what? As somebody who has been following Yoshinori Ono's career as closely as anyone probably could, I don't think you should give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I think he really meant, haha, Melty Blood, good for me, my company, oh no time. I think that's what he was really feeling in his heart when he said that. Do you guys know that I save Street Fighter the same way I'm saving Melty Blood?
Wait for
is probably a quote.
Wait for the new toy to hold up in the photos, you know, and he's gonna ask everyone to hold up their box cutters and rip their glasses off, and he'll yell something about burning your magic circuit while he takes a photo of Neko Arc. Yeah, that's the one.
I think the thing that threw me real bad was the trifecta of Ono. But also, it's like I thought people were mad because it was like my internalized reading of this is that the world is a toilet now. If Melty Blood is the #1 selling game on Steam, like we're all in the bathroom now. And then I had this moment in my head where I didn't fully connect it, where he says, "Melty Blood's the #1 game on Steam," and I'm like, no, it's fucking not.
Well, there's that too.
That's a lie. That's just a straight up lie. Maybe in Japan.
There's a type of person who I've met a few times that joins a team and then immediately starts taking credit for the things that existed when he joined.
Or things that had been created and died before and after he left. Like,
God, man, it's just, yeah. Well, that.
Oh, you know what that guy's name is? Bethesda, the inventor of the first-person shooter.
What's the story?
So when Doom, I want to say Eternal, came out or was coming out. Fucking not Pete Hines. Who the fuck was it? Was it Pete Hines? Somebody from Bethesda went up on fucking stage and was like, we here at Bethesda are proud to be, you know, the creators of the first-person shooter with Doom. Because they had bought id Software.
Okay.
And they had retroactively become the creators of the first-person shooter genre.
The probably most garbage thing about people like that is that it often works because that's how you clout surf. and you say it enough until people believe it.
And then they name their kids after jet engines.
Or whatever the fuck.
Whatever the fuck's going on with that.
Yeah. Man. Well, look, I you know, that's the type of tweet that everyone will look at here and go like, that's silly. But someone who makes decisions that has some power somewhere might look at that and go, oh, that Ono character, he made a good game there. That's doing well.
To those who don't know what the jet engine joke was about, it was making fun of the rich person Elon Musk for naming his kid some abomination of XA-E12.
X-Ash A12.
I you know what? I rarely would comment on this. I'm so glad those two are splitting up, because now we get to see a headline that says who will get custody of baby X, which is hilarious to me. Like it's the baby.
My honest hope is that the child is able to just get away with being called Ash and have a normal life.
Oh, they're super rich. They'll never have a normal life.
Well, I suppose, but
to the detriment of you and I.
But where the fuck was I?
Oh
no, Melty,
right?
Actually playing the game Melty Blood type Lumina.
I've heard this game has an auto combo button like an Arxis game, but on every button.
Yeah, but I mean, so does Dragon Ball, sort of. Well, no, Dragon Ball has it on A and B. In this case, it's on A, B, and C. But it's auto combos on whatever button after you get the initial hit out. That is, it's not a big deal in my opinion. I mean, I expect to see that going forward into most things, because it'll allow people to just jump on and kind of do a thing and then, feel good about it. So that's a feature that's probably here to stay in a lot of games going forward. Not all of them, but certainly some. But yeah, I tweeted it out yesterday, but like one of the first things that I was just realizing playing it was it feels really cool to move around before round start. You get a little bit of movement in like Marvel, where you can just kind of walk forward and backwards slowly.
A little bit to the left, a little bit to the right.
Right, and there's something intimidating about like, I'm up in your face, like what, But like in this case, it's full dashes, full movement, full jumps, whatever you want, and that is really like fun and interesting. You can kind of do things that like you can have a cross up started as soon as go active is stated. You can have like a mix pre-installed and in the middle of happening. You can also feel when some people will have like rounds 1 and 2 of the first. They'll play the first game and they just won't move. They'll just be like, yeah, I'll just play whatever. But then when you beat them and then you play a rematch, now they're just dashing at you like, fuck this guy,
They're just wave dashing into the dirt a million times a second.
So there's that aspect of it. And it just reminded me how much I really like that. I think that's a pretty fun thing that I like in more fighters in general. I mean, again, the standing still thing is also it's a way of just like you have to guess what's going to come first. What are your actions?
Yeah, I'm going to assert dominance by pretending I'm not actually at the computer. I'm just going to stand there, and then they're going to hit me once, and they're going to be like, oh, cool, he's not there. And then when I suddenly wake up with 30% of my health remaining, that's going to scare them to the point where I can kill them. I've had some weird matches like that. But yeah, so that's there. I'm having some fun. Just playing this game that is like where you that whole thing about like open your magic circuit, turn your magic circuit, burn your magic circuit is real. Like there's so much meter coming and going. In a lot of cases for me right now, it's going faster than it's coming, and you need it because it's like,
you know, imagine if, yeah, like you had, it's like literally you have 3 buttons, and you know, old Melty like worked this way too, but it's just like the strong version of every one of your attacks is like a metered EX. It's like a super, basically, you know, a mini super in a way. And the subsystem that is getting the most discussion, I'd say, is the shield. And I don't know if you've seen anything about this, but
I've seen shit all. I don't even know what this game looks like, aside from there being a character that seems mostly red, that you can fit 13 or 14 of her sprite inside the hitbox for her super.
okay.
That's
Yes.
the only thing. That is literally the only thing I've seen of Melty Blood.
So there is her, and she does like Tetsuzankos and stuff. Yeah, Miyako. The system that they have going is that there's light, medium, heavy attack, and then the 4th button is shield. And shield will absorb a hit, and then you can press a button to follow up. And if you press like light or heavy, it'll do like a launcher. So it'll just follow up with a launcher that lets you do an air combo. Or if you press medium, you'll teleport behind them like Dante style, you know? And then you'll do a little aerial hit. So what the thing about it is that after I shield your attack and then swing at you, there's another thing I can do, which is like an instant dash across your body. That's just very fast. That attacks you. So I get those options. After you attack me and your attack gets shielded by me, you can then hit shield so that we clash again. And then I can hit shield and then clash again. So you have a bunch of moments that are like ba 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 teleport ba ba ba, where just a bunch of flashy nonsense is going on, and you're playing a quick game of rock paper scissors, and it looks shiny, but it's kind of insane.
I think I actually have scrolled past that. Like people doing that in the air, and then they clash, and then they're behind each other, and then they clash, and they're behind. Looks like some anime shit.
It does. So Dragon Ball had a reflect system that lets you just push away the opponent, and you could use it in a similar fashion, but what would happen is after you did it in Dragon Ball, you both would get spaced out, and then you'd have to like engage. In this case, it keeps the whole sequence going until someone gets hit, or you both fucking whiff on some wild shit, you know? And they clearly wanted this to be in the system of the game, and they wanted this to be what people saw, because like it's very easy to do. It happens unintentionally if you're just like, if you just kind of panic, and you swing and then hit that shield button afterwards, you can end up with a pretty long sequence of that going on. And then the final big super anime attacks that you can do, one of the ways to trigger them is by entering what they call blood heat and then shielding anything.
Right.
And then it auto triggers. So this is an intentional little like RPS system in the game. And like, yeah, I feel like it's kind of fucking batshit crazy and it's RPS-y, but it does do the job of making spectators go, whoa, holy shit, anime fighting is going on.
Well, I mean, rock, paper, scissors is fair, so there's no danger there of, like, it ruining the game. How often in a match are you doing this?
Low
what
level
percentage of a match? I mean, yeah.
Low level. When I first started, I feel like the beginners were throwing it out there. The thing is that it's not, you don't have infinite shield. You have it drains after you using a little moon meter.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there is a regulator in place for it, right? But I feel like low level, I see a lot of people attempting to use it unsuccessfully, and then approaching mid, which is like kind of where I'm at. I'm seeing it get used like less randomly, much more frequently and tightly. But when it does get used, like, you have to play the game. It's almost like when it's like the wager system in Injustice or something like that, where it's like, okay, or the reversal edge, you know, in Soul Calibur 5, right?
What if I don't want to play Melty Blood?
Then
can't I just do this shield thing all day?
No, because you're gonna get your shit wrecked and it's gonna be spent and over. You could also play without it and try to rely on, you know, normal blocking and movement and reversals.
Old-fashioned loser blocking.
Yeah, that works too. And, you know, and that's fine. But there is a mix of like, yeah, there's high low to it. You can get grabbed. There's a couple ways to deal with it, but it's a very aggressive system that's put in on one button that allows you to like just create these insane spectacle moments. You know, imagine Third Strike had a parry button, but it was like you could hold it for a period of time, you know, and it would drain like, I don't know, let's say you're an extra meter, so you had a couple seconds of it, you know, and then after anything, weird. It's a very aggressive use of it that it used to exist in the previous games, but this is like dialed it up quite a bit. But I'm having fun with the game. Right now, I feel like it is rollback. I've had some clean matches. I've had some bad matches though, and I started having a bunch of matches that were getting really rough. So I had to restrict, you know, my games to like having people with at least over a bar for now. That helped, but
does moving around in the pre-fight actually change anything?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I mean netcode wise.
Oh, I don't know. But I can definitely say that
people I'm seeing it. Don't skip the intro on PC because it screws up the fucking sync.
That's been a thing for a while in Arxis games. I've always been told by like people who play, let the intros rock, specifically to allow it to connect and sync better. I'm not playing on PC. I'm playing on console because I heard there was other issues on PC. I still fucking hate this thing of like new fighting game drops. Where are we going? Is it decided? Is there a consensus? What are we playing? You know.
Well, I mean, that's the natural result of these games being available on more platforms. Like back in the day, the answer is where are we going? The only console it's releasing on is where we're going.
And then it would also be like, hey, ideal world, crossplay, doesn't matter. Go where you want.
Yeah.
But sadly, that ain't the case. So for now, I'm playing on console. But yeah, my observations have been I've had some bad matches where I'm just like, get me the fuck out of here. And I've had some good matches, and I'm starting to restrict them. So I don't know. I have to get some more games in, but like, I feel as if, and then I went to player match for a while too, out of ranked, and there I've been seeing a lot more 0 barred rooms than strong connection rooms, and it's weird, but like their decision to split things up online was ranked will queue you up with one person, whereas the player match forces a lobby. So
that seems fine.
But it does slow the process down a bit. It would be nice if you could just queue up for a player match, you know, on its own. But in any case, that's kind of how it feels online right now. I'm you know, being diligent about like who I'm connecting to and stuff. But the other thing that I noticed is it's an interesting discussion that popped up, right? I believe Giuna was saying like, hey, I think it's time we got to get rid of like win percentages and like stats. Because remember how I was complaining about how I couldn't see my exact stats in whatchamacallit, Strive, right?
Yeah.
So in this game, you can see matches played and matches won from whatever your opponent has. And I've experienced a little bit of it, and like I'm hearing that some people are experiencing a lot of people who are seeing your number and kind of just going fuck this and disconnecting.
Oh, they can see it during the load up.
Pre-connection, pre-match, you can cancel. So you can choose.
Oh, you shouldn't be able to see that.
In ranked, you shouldn't, right?
No, that's ridiculous.
Exactly. So in ranked matches, you connect to somebody, and the thing is usually, like but you do want to see how their connection strength is, right? So on the one hand, you want to be able to connect to somebody, see the strength of the connection, and go like, "Ooh, that's horrible. Get me out of there. That ping is through the roof." But on the other hand, when you see the ratio of their wins, you see some people are like fuck that, I'm getting out of here, and then they don't fight you. So their only ranked matches are by, whatever they opt in to select, right? This then leads to some people who have particularly high win ratios based on that selection method. And these people are almost guaranteed to rage quit if you beat them on round one. Because they're like, I don't want my win percentage to go down,
Right.
So the discussion was like, showing the stat creates something that people can't handle. They can't handle their percentage being low. It hurts the ego too much, and it makes them quit. And if you hide that, then they're not going to do that,
It's interesting because, like, I'm thinking back to certain shooters. I want to say Overwatch did this, but I'm not 100% certain, where your kill-death ratio was actually obfuscated because the amount of points you would get through, like, team activities, and assists also counted as kills for stuff like that. And that was an intention to, get people to fucking relax about that shit. I think back to, God, I want to go back to, like, Battlefield 2 back in the aughts, where when they started doing that squad stuff, and the big thing was like, no, taking out vehicles and, playing to your class's strength will get you more points for your squad and, more, progression, whatever the fuck, than your KD ratio.
But what would people see?
But the KD ratio was still on the screen.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
people would fucking camp out in the most annoying places and ignore their squad completely and lose the match, but go, yeah, but my KD was like 2.2 to 1.
It is really an interesting discussion around the psychology of, like, I mean, we can call it cowardice, but it's like, it's really like, it's a bad feeling thing that a player comes in and sees and goes like, oh, I feel bad, I have to protect that number, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And now my priority isn't having fun or trying to get better, it's protecting that number at all costs, And that is immediately a, like, poisoning of where your intention should be, and, like, kind of, and what's fun about playing the game, right? It's some bullshit. And I mean, if you have that mentality, like, these people will often, it feels like they'll be, in some cases they'll just be scrub quotes, but in other cases I've seen people who are like, no, I admit it, it's my habits, it bothers me seeing that number go down, and I'm just gonna do whatever it takes because it feels bad, right? So
it's interesting to me because I mean, I've been very public. I suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder, which is, like, tied directly into this kind of numerical mind shenanigans. But I've played a lot of shooters that used a lot of different point systems, and it's been my experience that if there is any way to hit tab or select or anything to obfuscate any form of kill-death ratio, it doesn't matter what numbers you give any other action. It doesn't matter what kind of shiny fucking lights you attach to getting the flag or capturing the point or whatever. You will still have people like furious that the guy who didn't get that many kills but who got the flag 6 times was the person who was MVP in the game because, well, they're KD. It's like, it is like such an intensely vital, like, overpowering number. And in fighting games, all there is your kill death ratio.
Yes, and you're by yourself.
WRL.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is.
So the interesting. So the thing
I don't know how you
is,
could fix it other than actually, just removing it entirely.
so the discussion goes in a couple places, because now you look at how Guilty Gear Strive decided to address it by just completely removing that number and then putting you on floors and letting you stay at the floor that you're comfortable with, right? And also picking the opponents you want. So in a sense, they created it's not really true ranked, because you're not facing the world, you're facing whatever you choose to let through your filter. So there's that, but you can stay at the place you feel comfortable with, and obfuscating that number hide some of that feeling, so there's still people rage quitting, but maybe there's an argument where some could say people would rage quit more if that number were shown forcefully every single time, and so I personally am someone who obviously would love to have that number, and even if it's hidden, give me a place I can go behind 5 menus to get to it. If you have to do that, whatever, just show it to me so that I can learn and decide, my own, I could keep track of my progress.
It's funny because I want to say 2 months ago, we were laughing ourselves stupid about the idea of a system that would surface your win-loss ratio against specific players or even matchups upon starting the match to shame you. Only think of now, after it's no longer a funny joke. It's that stuff probably makes a shittier experience because people will just quit.
So
they'll just bail.
So it turns out that one of the possible solutions to this was solved by Virtua Fighter. In that Virtua Fighter... Is it
an online fighting game that no one can adequately play online so that this problem doesn't exist?
Correct. Online doesn't matter because it doesn't fucking work. So then everybody just shuts up and stops and goes home.
Problem solved.
So Virtua Fighter allowed you to choose what information you wanted displayed.
Mm-hmm.
So you could hide the number that you're embarrassed by, thus not caring about it, thus potentially playing less of a douche.
You ever played Dead or Alive 4 online?
No, I don't think so.
You know what happens when you lose 5 or 10 matches in that game? You get a 0-point achievement that calls you a loser and can't come off your account.
Just burnt in.
Yep. It's the most toxic fucking thing I've ever seen a game do to your fucking profile. It's astonishing.
Yeah. That's some people are gonna laugh and smile at that, and others are gonna seethe into a pile.
Yeah.
But I think that somewhere along the lines, because as we've established, being able to accept or deny a ranked match based on connection quality is fair and important, but denying it based on the skill you see is then defeating the purpose of ranked, in my opinion. So that shouldn't be the case. So I think really, yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to sound like a shit here, but what you just said was so naive. I cannot believe you even said. The point of ranked matches in a fighting game is so that I can win and feel good.
Yes.
This competition shit you're talking about or whatever, what planet are you from? The point of me sitting down on Saturday night and fucking loading up Guilty Gear or fucking DBZ and hitting that rank button is so that I can beat on some fucking idiots and win and feel good about myself. And if I need to fucking make a new account in League of Legends and smurf people in bronze, then goddamn it, I'm gonna do it.
Who's gonna do it? Me.
That's right. You got it.
Me.
Combating that mentality is much more difficult than the rest.
It is, because what I'm trying to get to.
sorry, I remember when we talked about the cheater people, the people who
Yeah.
were like interviewed
Yeah.
about buying cheats.
Yes.
And they're like, I don't, like they just don't care. And they're
Yes.
like, it's my game. I don't give a fuck. I just want to play it and have fun.
Yeah.
It's remarkably straightforward.
So there's always going to be those people, and there's very little you can do about that except for keep track of, if possible, their disconnection rates and then show you that. Dragon Ball would show you a color that said, hey, this person disconnects very often.
Right? I really like that. That was one of my favorite implementations.
Fantastic. That's great. So what I'm getting at here is that we have another case of if excuse me. If we all looked at each other's homework and started grabbing the best of all these different implementations for online, you can get something that minimizes that behavior, because it makes those people, they're not going to have as much fun. And the people who do stick around and act that way will still be there, but it'll turn off some of that inherent toxicity and bullshit, especially if it's someone who doesn't think they're going to be that way, but then suddenly feels that way in the middle of a match. And you're like, I didn't know I was a rage quitter until I rage quit, Like if you're one of those people that just like, I don't have the control. It just happened. Fuck those people. But
I've been in rooms.
Take away that incentive. Like make it so that the stat, you don't see it right away. That number that defeats you, that burns in, that makes you suddenly start being a shit. Fine. Hide that number. Right? Don't make it completely, utterly out of the game, but take it away from the default matchup screen and just show the connection strength and how often the person disconnects.
I remember being in high school and playing fighting games against other of the local kids, and the children that would go on to be rage quitting adults, I can look back and I can see them. I can see a kid named James who bragged about how he could beat anyone in rival schools for like a week and a half and kept dodging kids is like, oh, let's go to your house and play it then. He's like, no, I'm busy. And then like me and some other kids went there and like everyone could beat him and I perfected him. And like I literally just used Shoma and like popped him up in the air and did the textbook combo. And like midway through the second round, he like smashed his fucking controller and like stormed out of his own room and told us all to leave his house. And it's like, oh, look,
there it is. There he is.
There it is. There's the personality type that grows up to do this.
100%.
And his brother was so embarrassed. His brother was like a much nicer kid. And he was just like, oh, fucking.
Well, you're in his house when he IRL rage quitted. So now you have to find your way out.
Oh, man.
And unlike a rage quit nowadays, which fucks up, like 30 seconds of your time, that possibly fucked up your afternoon, So, yeah, that baby.
You know what? I know. I'm 35. I feel like I've finally hit that age where I can start doing that. And what I'm about to do. Rage quitting. Do you know whose rage quitting's fault is? Really? At the core? The parents. Because when fucking little Billy fucking lost his shit at 6 years old and spiked his Xbox controller into the dirt and it shattered into a million pieces, they bought him another one.
He was rewarded for it.
Or at the very least, not inconvenienced.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no coping mechanism put in place to deal with not getting your way, and thus you entered adulthood assuming and continuing to think that that's how you deal with displeasure. Yeah.
Also, do you remember like being in high school or even younger and playing fighting games against like kids that would like get like their eyes popping out of their fucking heads, screaming, angry?
Yeah.
And think about like, do their fucking parents not see them losing their fucking minds at home over shit like this?
Of course, but that's not fun. But that's not fighting games. That's been people screaming at their mouse and keyboard while their parents are going, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" for years now, and the sounds of monitors getting thrown off the table. It's a thing, like that is just you're seeing anger issues that are coming from people that weren't taught how to handle those moments.
Oh, man.
You know,
I remember
you can get pretty far in
going,
life without needing to learn that.
I knew a kid named Eric, and he had 2 younger brothers, and Eric was like, okay, I guess, but the 2 younger brothers were the most violent, aggressive, stupid shitheads I've ever seen in my life. And I remember going over there and thinking, like, wow, I don't know, like, how the fuck did these kids end up this fucked up? And then the 2 start roughhousing, and then the mother just appears to scream louder than I've ever heard a human being yell. Just fucking stop it! And then, like, on the way out, like, I see the dad who looks like one drink from suicide hiding in the garage working on, like, a boat or something. And I'm like, oh, that's how that happened.
You got the portrait. You got the family portrait.
Wow, I just got to see the cause and effect in every possible fucking line connecting in, like, a 5-minute span. And that person is dodging the second round in Melty Blood.
Because they have larger problems. Yes, this is true. This is true. You know, but it is definitely clearly something that there's some, you'd think there'd be some obvious solutions, like just go, well, make a disconnect count as a loss, but then that creates a whole new problem where people can jump online with their friends and then lose on purpose and then just artificially spam their way up the rankings. Yeah, well. You know, especially if you can deny your matches until you get your friend, you know?
Yeah, it's really funny. That phenomenon has become so bad that in games that have, like, I'm going to say well-maintained rank systems, it's led to the situation where if, like, your friend and not you are too far apart in rank, you're just not allowed to play together. You're just not allowed, because that shit, you're either going to boost or you're going to boost down for nefarious fucking purposes.
I mean, to extrapolate back at that level where you're talking about, like, age and the parents and going into that, like, scope on things, to keep it at that Zoom level, I would say another statement here is, I think it's important to get or be into some form of hobby or game of whatever your choice is at some point in your life. It's important to be into something where you have to lose regularly.
Yeah.
Right? So I've seen people talk about this with martial arts, and I've heard people describe, like, getting into jiu-jitsu, for example, as one of the most humbling things ever, because the process of learning is getting your ass beat over and over and over again until you have no ego about being a cool, strong guy that's gonna win. You get fucking humbled instantly, constantly, and immediately, and it changes the way you think. You know?
Yeah. I remember my parents always told me, I mean, Pat, you're pretty smart, but you're never going to be the smartest. Yeah, you might even be the smartest kid in your class right now. But eventually you're going to go out into the world and you're not going to be the smartest. And you're not going to be the best at anything and blah, blah, blah. You know, that kind of speech. But it never really fucking took until I was like 14 or 15. And I did, like, a martial arts class with what ended up being my French teacher after school. And I would get my ass kicked by adults, like, once a week for maybe 18 months. And only to realize, like, oh, yeah, I'm learning cool moves. I can do it. And it's like, okay, we're going to pair you with the 45-year-old dude who came in to learn this new one because he has a second Dan in karate. And he's going to spar with you. And dude just flips me like a fucking doll. I'm like, oh, my cool moves. They didn't. And, oh, man.
Yeah.
There's a whole world out there. Plenty of strong guys.
I think people who get into zero-sum games at some point in life are, like, you learn something. It teaches you how to deal with losing and how to deal with, like, self-improvement and how to focus on the right things, you know? There, you know, I quote it from time to time, but I remember that study about being told your when you do really well in your class, being told you're very smart versus being told you work very hard, and the effect that has on kids.
Yeah,
And
you know what the effect is? I'll tell you right now. I was told, "Oh wow, Patrick, you're so smart. Wow, you're the smartest kid in this class." And that led to the situation that I went to. I flew through all the way to the end of stage and got to university and discovered I did not know how to study.
there you go.
At all.
There you go. Right? But you're so smart. You know?
Oh yeah? Oh man, that natural shit stopped carrying me about 4 classes into university when they're pointing me at a fucking sodium fucking gate for your goddamn brain neurons, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. God damn it. Shit.
So the result of that study was the class of students. There was 2 of them. One group of students were told and praised for how smart they were, and the others were praised for how hard they worked. And the students that in both classes were given harder and harder problems until eventually they were given problems way beyond their possible understanding at a university level. And the students in the class that were praised for how smart they were gave up instantly and just quit, and like in some cases were crying. The worst feelings, like tears and just anger and rage, and they all gave up. And the hard workers kept at it despite not even having, the answers, but like stayed in longer essentially before they went, hey guys, you don't know the answers here,
Let me get this straight. We're delving into child psychology on this. Is real interesting. What you're saying is that the optimal way to stop this is to repeatedly place the child in complete no-win situations in which they can't possibly win. And this will break down their ego as they learn that success is random and mutable.
But continuously praise them for never giving up.
Yeah, this is tough because this is actually like 60-70% of the way that you accidentally induced what's called learned helplessness. In which
perfect for your
people,
fucking factory job, working on the line, pissing in your bottles.
Yeah, if you subject people to circumstances that will negatively affect them and create a situation in which it does not appear that their efforts make any conceivable difference, you create learned helplessness, and then the dog doesn't even try and jump off the electrified plate anymore. They just whimper. Oops, it's complicated. You know what? This is a great example to bring up something that I've been trying to figure out how to bring up on the podcast for a while, because what the whole discussion we're talking about is things that happen inside game studios, right? You got a bunch of people sitting around going, "Oh man, how do we make the player do this? And how do we make the player do that? Because the player behavior will tend towards this if we do this, and yada 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 yada." And one guy says, "Hey, I took Psychology 101 and Cognitive Behavior 102 at my local community college." And then a different guy says, "Ooh, I have a book on operant conditioning." And they go, "Did you hear about a Skinner box where you give the rat the cocaine and then you can you zap it, or the Pavlov dog thing?
Rat Park, Pavlov's dog.
You can make
Stanford prison.
Do anything. All you got to do is operantly condition them." And this is something
press the pain button
with Doc a good deal about, where it's you have all these armchair game developer psychologists who read like 2 books on operant conditioning, and they go, we can gamify and operant condition the shit out of our players. So they do this and do that and buy this.
And then they create a gacha.
Yeah, but there's a problem here. There's the piece of the research that they don't look at. When you Pavlov's dogs, you know, the salivary gland thing, the operant conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what happens to those dogs? They bite their handlers.
Oh.
Do you know what happens to monkeys that you operantly condition? They become anxious and violent.
And violent. Yeah, they get violent. They get real violent.
Hey, if you do, sorry, I'm mixing up classical and operant here, but when you psychologically manipulate people to do what they want, to do what you want, using little dirty tricks, they become upset and toxic. And isn't it a little like you notice there's certain genres that are just like the toxic beacons of like League of Legends, like MOBAs are just like the most toxic shit ever, or the Genshin Impact community is like the worst thing ever. It's like, do you think maybe the design isn't just making players act badly in game? You're actually making them stressed out and angry and upset, and that little Jimmy who throws his controller because he can't handle losing in a fighting game is now being acted on by these psychological pressures that have been tuned to his psyche to make him spend money, and now he's an asshole that can't stop dropping hard R's?
So what you're saying is, in Melty, every time someone disconnects, their character should get weaker by about 5%. Every time they disconnect, everything their character does drops by about 5%. And you just don't tell them. It's just a secret
hidden.
number.
Yeah, it's hidden.
Secret number. You know?
Yeah, you know what? That'd be a great version of Loser Jail, which is like every disconnect on a character leads to a like 1% loss in stats across the board.
God.
So, like, if somebody's rage quit, like, 50 times, like, their character is literally doing half the damage and taking twice the damage.
See, the problem is that, like, these types of things require a battle planner and a game director that is willing to sit down in an interview with IGN or whoever and look them dead in the face and go, yeah, no, that's correct. We did that. Fuck those people.
Oh, so Yoko Taro's fighting game.
Essentially, you know? Or look them in the face and go, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? They're like, well,
as they wear a mask
the
on.
Rage Quitter account that we made for this it's doing half the damage. Like, oh, that's weird.
Huh.
Pass that along to QA, I guess.
We'll get that over to the team. Yeah.
Oh man.
So the nothing new under the sun. The world goes on, and Type Lumina has this initial vibe, but it's a fun game, and I'm enjoying the stuff it's doing. I'm playing Ciel, who I played in the old games, and yeah, that's all cool. So gonna take a look at that.
How's it stack up to the old Melty Blood?
I mean, it's prettier. I feel like I can, like, and maybe it's just because I didn't put the time in, but I kind of do feel like I can do more with the different types of metered abilities you've got in the game now, because you've got like regular specials, and you've got the EXs, and then you've got the moon specials, which have different properties that require no meter, but they use moon meter, and you can combo with those, and then you can use those to cancel into other things, including like your final attacks, your final like arc drive, type thing. So there's a lot of stuff happening with the system and the types of moves you're using. So by spending a little bit of this and saving a little bit of that, you can combine them later to do some pretty cool shit. And again, I don't know Actress again enough to say like exactly what you could have or couldn't have done back then, although I do know that like heat and blood heat were a thing. But in this game, it feels like I'm in the lab messing around, and I've found quite a few ways to like do some long, cool shit. But the damage is not like out of this world in the way that it is with Strive and all these other games that we've gotten used to. So you do big, crazy shit, and the game goes, cool, you took off 33%. I hope you're okay with that. And you're like, yeah, you know what, I am. That's fine. Damage is kind of back to normal in this game after seeing the exploding Strive videos. And you do wild shit that ends in a big old level 3 in this game, and then it's like, cool, you did like 4,000 damage.
So it's not a touch of death game.
There's some, there's some really crazy shit, and I don't want to say no because I'm sure someone out there is going to find something. But for now, it feels like you're doing big shit into big finish, and you're getting, kind of like 40% if you going 50. Sometimes if you're like using your level 4. No, level 4 goes past that. Level 4 is huge damage. Level 4 is definitely an insane thing, but the others are kind of back to normal, So that's Melty Blood.
I'm just laughing. I'm just giggling at like you confusedly saying it doesn't use meter, but it uses moon meter. And like, man, fucking fighting games.
Yeah.
Are, so absurd.
The funny thing about the moon meter is that it serves simultaneously as an easy input button because it's like Smash Brothers style specials on a quick input. But let's say you have a Hadoken, and then you've got a EX Hadoken that spends a bar. You've got like forward plus B and C to do moon meter Hadoken, which is like no quarter circle required, and it has its own properties, but you only have a couple of them. So
you can only use the moon so much
until it goes down or turns red.
What? That
it turns
sense. It's silly.
Yeah, it's fine.